Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. I'm Luke Stuckmeyer. That's at Luke Stuckmeyer on Twitter. Cody Delmendo, Ryan Herrera, we're all in the house getting ready for the first set of the Crosstown series, an off day for the Cubs as they get ready to take on the Sox, who are, as we're recording this podcast, still playing one more game against the Angels, but off to a horrific start to their season. It's
kind of weird, though, like a series extending into Monday. Like,
yeah,
that's an awkward days for series to go. But yeah,
it doesn't feel right. I'll admittedly say that. I also don't think 2-game series feel right either, which is what the Cubs and the Sox have both on the south and the north side this year.
Yeah, it's just 4 games this year.
Yeah,
and we'll see how weather impacts it this round, because it sounds like it's going to be kind of a wet week. So we'll find out. Let's start with the great news. Undefeated in the month of May, the Cubs.
Undefeated.
Undefeated in May.
Never lost.
CHGO Cubs show has also never lost in the month of May.
That is true. Month of May, undefeated shows. Cubs 9-13 on the season, entering the Crosstown. They did make some roster moves. We will get to that. But the most recent thing that happened this afternoon, Seya Suzuki comes out and is the National League Player of the Month.
Let's go, man.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good start to his career, I'd say.
One might say that is pretty good. Pretty good. You know that GIF?
It shows that, like, even though he has, like, had that little mini slump the last few games, like, he still came out of the gate so hot that he really did earn this award. I think
RBI double yesterday off one of the best pitchers in the game, though. Like, he's figuring it out.
No, he's and then we talked to Ross, and he's like, we're like, does it seem that the pitchers are making those adjustments? That the league is going to make. The more data they get on him, it's like, yeah, but it's all about adjusting to those adjustments, and that's what Seya has to do. He got the RBI double yesterday, but he hit what he ended up going like 279, 405, 529 was his slash. Scored 13 runs, 19 hits, 5 doubles, 4 homers, 14 RBIs. Like, he just had an unbelievable month that we didn't see coming out of the gate. I think everyone expected some struggles coming over from Japan and going into MLB. So, Seya Suzuki, NL Rookie of the Month, and I think obviously deservedly so. He had a great month. His first time in the majors. If
you had to put your level of surprise about him being right out of the gate National League Player of the Month, and 10 is the most surprised, and 1 is you're not surprised at all, this first month of a baseball season for Seya Suzuki, where's your surprise level, Cody?
I'd say it's at around a 5, and it's only because I looked at all the odds to win NL Rookie of the Year, like in March, and Seya was one of the top 3 favorites to win NL Rookie of the Year this year. Mm-hmm. So, did I expect him to, have an OPS over 1,000 for most of the month? No, I did not expect that, but I did expect, him to be a good baseball player. So, yeah, like I said, I'm about a 5. Like, I figured he would be good, but I didn't think that he would be as good as he was.
And you're only at a 5, though? Like, I'm more like a 7 or 8 at least.
Oh, I'm at least an 8.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like an 8 or a 9.
You asked if I'm like surprised or not.
But you keep saying you're not surprised that he did good, but you're surprised that he did this good right away. That's the question. Is like, who knew he was going to be this good, right?
Yeah, I guess a level of surprise, not surprised at all, is I expected him to be this good right out of the gate. The other is, wow, I had no idea. I really never thought he'd be this good this early. And for me, he's an 8 or a 9 because of all the things we said going into it. Like, it's going to take him time to adjust to the culture. He's going to have to adjust to the major league game. He's going to have to adjust to how much faster the pitches are coming in at Major League Baseball as compared to they are in Japan. Everything, I just didn't think it would happen this quickly.
Yeah.
I thought it might be a slow start to his career here. And so far it's been the opposite.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying about the Rookie of the Year odds. And if he wins the Rookie of the Year at the end of the year, I wouldn't have been surprised because I think we both picked him as our Rookie of the Year picks.
For being good this season, I wouldn't be surprised.
100%
for being
not surprised.
This good this early.
Away. For winning the
really
NL Rookie of the
surprised.
Month in April, that's definitely a surprise to me. I think at least an 8 is what because just not only did we think that, Jed was saying that whenever he talked about he's going to have, a transition period, and he kind of just blew right past that for most of the month. So, I think I'm at least at like a 7, 8, maybe even a 9, just in terms of I did not think that Seya Suzuki would win NL Rookie of the Month. I think maybe we thought if he did very well, he could have, but I don't think, again, no one expected that. So that's, I think, where the surprise comes in.
Okay. Well, I think
you're up to a 6.
I would say I'm at like a 7 or 8.
There you go.
Yeah.
Join us.
I just misunderstood what you guys were saying. I'm sorry.
I understand what you were saying. You were confident in him having a good season.
Yeah.
But for me, it's about, I was asking specifically about right now.
We need a Seya Suzuki shirt in the CHGO locker. Like, how do we get that going?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Like, our friends over at Obvious Shirts got one. I want to support Joe, obviously. But
I will say that Joe, what they did at Obvious Shirts with the Seya, and like the old Sega video game, like I do want that shirt because I think it's really creative and cool. I think we could come up with something. Can anybody here draw? Do we have a sketcher?
We have our good friend Eric out in
Eric does all stuff, but like we could help him out with something for Seya.
Yeah, we need to.
Maybe it's just a slogan, and then we let him do the artwork for it.
What do you think the slogan should be? Not to put you on the spot.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like we should come up with something. Because you're right. I think that's a shirt that would be hot.
I'd love to wear it on this podcast at least once a week.
What about it? Maybe they could make us a shirt that says Keegan shoves.
That'd be cool too. Keegan Thompson for mayor.
Say, isn't that what you would want?
Keegan Thompson for mayor.
Yeah. I think Keegan might have gotten votes for like reliever of the month too, if I'm not mistaken.
I would hope so.
He had a great.
I'm assuming Will Crow probably won it after what we saw from Pittsburgh and how he didn't give up any runs.
Will Crows.
Jake's got one on here. What about Sayonara baseball?
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Ginger has the Sega design one. She said on the chat. So if you're watching on YouTube, that's great. That's where you see the best video of the actual podcast. If you're on Twitter, jump on over to YouTube. You'll get a clear picture of everything and see the chat. Join in on the chat. We've got a pretty good crowd starting to come in now.
See, Jack, he says CHGO bets was too early today. Yeah, I would agree. I barely made it here on time for the show.
I would say the vibe for Cub baseball is better this afternoon, Monday afternoon, than it was Friday night, Cody.
Oh, yeah.
How does that feel? And Saturday didn't make it feel much better.
No.
Saturday scored 20-2 the first 2 games.
Yeah, Saturday I was just happy to, I met up with an old college friend I hadn't seen for 2 years. I met up with him at Carol's Pub, which if you live on the north side, you might know that bar. It's right down Clark Street, north of Wrigley, and had a few alcoholic beverages. And we watched the Cubs game there, but like mainly I ignored the Cubs game while I was there because it was so hard to watch. So Ryan, shout out to you for sitting through all 9 innings of that barn burner.
Yeah, if it wasn't my job, maybe I wouldn't have. But did you not appreciate the spin zones? The Cubs are still on their streak of scoring at least a run every game. Like, that's still not.
That is
68, maybe.
Heck of a run, isn't it? Yeah.
Like huge. I mean, just shout out the Cubs for at least scoring 1 run.
Ginger has our shirt. Ginger's got our shirt. This is an idea. The drawing that Nick Madrigal did of him saying weather not bad.
Oh, weather bad though. Weather very bad.
Weather is bad. It's terrible.
The weather's been
That's a good idea though.
Year,
I kind of like that.
It would be kind of funny, just like his little stick figure sketch that he did.
That was good.
So the roster is down to 26 officially. They've adjusted that. Ethan Roberts going to the 10-day injured list, retroactive to the 30th. Right shoulder inflammation. And Locke St. John down to AAA.
Best name in the system, man. Locke St. John. You don't get a better name than that.
Until Luke Little gets here.
Luke Little. That's because he's 6'8".
Yeah.
No, I'm just like Locke St. John is a cool. Like when you see that on the lockers, that's a name. That's a name,
power
regardless
name.
of who is the person is or the pitcher is.
Yeah.
Just the name Locke St. John.
And see if we could get him to be really productive. Then we get the Loch Ness Monster shirt.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know that guy is definitely like at home, he asserts his dominance. If your name is Locke St. John, no one is telling you what to do.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Like, come on, man. You are just an animal. Like no one messes with you.
Yeah, you go if you go and read my my Monday morning thoughts I posted this morning. I went through and tried to like track down like who could challenge Locke St. John for like best name in Cubs franchise history. Got some good ones. You take away Three Finger Brown's nickname, it's still Mordecai Peter Centennial Brown.
But 3 fingers because he had 3 fingers is pretty unbelievable.
Vito Valentinetti. Like, there's definitely an Italian mobster out there with the same name. Probably got confused, but like that's an awesome name.
Yeah.
And then Ralph Pierre Lecoq. I don't really have to.
Lecoq,
I don't have to explain that one.
Sure?
But yeah, no. Locke St. John. Locke St. John got a great name. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Ethan Roberts. Are you worried about him? Right shoulder inflammation, ERA 11.81 in his last 6 appearances. He definitely wasn't as good.
Ryan, correct me if I got my days mixed up. But in the last game of the series against the Braves, didn't Ethan Roberts pitch? And then the very next day, the Cubs threw him against the Brewers.
Yeah, he threw 29 pitches, I think.
Yeah, 29 pitches
Thursday,
against the Braves, yes.
And then Friday, I wrote it somewhere. 29 pitches on Thursday, and then another 16 on Friday. It's 45 pitches over 2 days. I mean, to me, that is kind of like why this is happening. I also don't think it's anything like major. I mean, they needed a roster. They needed to cut a roster spot too. If he was even feeling like sore in the shoulder, that could. I mean,
this is exactly what they were worried about coming out of the lockout. Is that you're going to have a lot of injured pitchers.
Yeah, because I asked Ethan on Saturday morning, like how you pitched 2 days in a row, just the first time you have in the majors. He's like, I'm like, how do you feel? He's like, he's like, it's just something I got to adjust to. Like he was saying how like in AAA they got a ton of guys in the pen, and so they don't pitch as often as they do in the majors. But like obviously in the major leagues, you got to get more used to pitching. As like we talked about Scott Efros before the show, he's pitched 6 of the last 10 games, something like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, as a major league pitcher, you just got to get used to being used more often. And so I think maybe, not to speculate too much, but they needed a roster spot or needed to cut a roster spot. And Ethan has, some inflammation in his shoulder, and this is one like, okay, we could put shut you down for 10 days or however long.
It can be retroactive.
Give you a break because he had been getting. I think it's 9 of the 20 games before.
Yeah.
So when he last pitch he'd been pitching 9 of 20 games. So maybe it's just like get you off your feet for a while. Let that inflammation go down, and then obviously work you back in. I mean, that could be it.
So do you think it's possible that after the 10 days, he would go to AAA? Or do you think he'll be back with the big league club?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I think it may depend on how many guys are coming up. Like we assume Alec Mills will be there. Yeah. Wade Miley's going to start doing his rehab stint, correct?
Well, and then another reason why I think so. We'll find out more about what what's going on with Ethan Roberts tomorrow when we talk to Ross, because we got the news like after we'd already left the clubhouse and stuff. So we'll find out more and to get specifics on what's going on. I also think that they could afford to put him on the IL and also send Locke St. John down and keep like an Alfonso Rivas up, because of the they have 2 off days this week and then another off day next Thursday. So over the next 11 days or whatever it is, they have 3 off days. So they won't need the full bullpen. Like they'll be able to rest guys and not have to pitch them day every day. So
that's fair.
And Stroman saved the bullpen yesterday.
He did.
They only had to use 3 guys.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal going into an off day.
Pretty much everyone's got a day off today,
which
full day to
much
recover.
Needed.
So you think that helps also having a bunch of off days where everyone's going to have a day off at some point. So I think maybe, because at the end of this 10 days, it was retroactive to the 30th. So at the end of this 10 days, you'll kind of be closing in on that, like end of the 3 days off in 11 days. So to your point, I could see them saying like, we need another arm in the bullpen when we get to this next run of games. So I could see them probably keeping Ethan Roberts up and sending maybe Alfonso Rivas, optioning him back to AAA.
If he's feeling fine, right?
So it also depends on how long they keep him down, but if he's done after 10 days and they want to prepare for that run of rest to be done, they might bring Ethan Roberts back in, go back up to that 14 pitcher limit that they have through May 30th. And then, again, Alfonso Rivas or someone else would end up getting optioned down or DFA'd, whatever it is. So I could see that. I could see Ethan Roberts, when he is off the 10-day IL, coming back to the bullpen and they go to 14 guys and 12 bats, however it works out.
All right.
If we are optioning Alfonso Rivas at any point the next 4 weeks,
I knew that was coming.
I'm gonna riot. I am going to ask everyone in the YouTube chat to join me in a riot down Clark Street if we option Alfonso.
How about just silent
Rivas.
protest?
Silent protest is fine. I'm just kidding, but also like
he's gonna pick it outside of
Cubs
Wrigley.
I know he's joking.
We are trying to figure out what is part of the next great Cubs team, and Alfonso Rivas is like out here being reasons why the Cubs are winning games when they actually do win games. Like, again, I understand why you're saying it, Ryan, because he has plenty of options, but like, come on, man. We got anyone besides Alfonso Rivas, I would be down.
You're fine with DFAing your guy Michael Hermosillo?
Yeah, I would be, and that's my guy too.
Right.
Mean, the reason is if you don't option Alfonso Rivas, you're probably looking at DFAing one of Hayward, that's not going to happen. Michael Hermosillo, who you kind of still want to see what he's got, and he's a right-handed bat, or Rafael Ortega, which I mean, I don't know. I don't see them really going that route of DFAing those three guys. Any of those three guys, I've seen people throw around giving optioning Madrigal, letting him reset, which they've done in the past, like Hap. I think Schwarber
did in 17. Yeah. Yep.
So I mean that could be an option if Madrigal continues to struggle.
Niren is saying, and we'll get to a couple of these topics, not to interrupt Ryan.
Yeah.
It's Madrigal, Hayward, he says, Ortega, Schwindel, all stinking up the joint right now. So we will get to we're going to do our power rankings in just a little bit. We'll talk
Hayward
about
still has
trending up,
better
trending
numbers
down.
than Christian Yelich right now. I'm just saying.
I mean,
Tweet of the weekend.
yeah. Well, so we'll also see, because you do have the other three guys on the 10-day IL, and
That's true.
And Wade Miley, Alec Mills, Andrelton Simmons, who I don't know that we even have a date of return for any of those three, but I know they're still trying to build them up, and that could happen in the next week, 2 weeks. So there's gonna be a lot of shuffling of the roster, but that happens every year. Guys get hurt, and they have to shuffle things around and make
Frazier
room.
too.
Yeah, Frazier's on the IL with the
Appendicitis.
Yeah, appendectomy now, but
whatever. You know what I mean.
but
That part of the body we don't need, but it sure would hurt if they took it out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it happens every year. Things get shuffled around. There's odd guys out. You just gotta kind of wait to see what happens. I don't really have I don't have an indication of what way they're leaning once these guys start coming off the IL. I before we found out Ethan Roberts was hurt, I kind of thought that they would lean towards keeping him on the roster and optioning Rivas. That was kind of what I would have predicted. Obviously, they went a different direction, and obviously Ethan Roberts is hurt, so that kind of made the decision easier.
Yeah.
We'll see how the next couple weeks play out, because they're gonna have some tough decisions to make for sure.
The way that the season has gone, there's been injuries and everything. Not that I'm asking for an injury to happen, but the likelihood that something else happens that kind of allows them to just flip-flop someone, I feel like is more likely than David Ross having to actually make this tough decision.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
we'll see.
Yeah, well, again, we'll see. We both just said that we'll see, because injuries do happen and happen every year. You can't predict them. Someone could get hurt again and make that an easy decision on, hey, we don't have to option this guy now, because they're just gonna, like you said, flip-flopping. But there's also the fact that I'm just using Robinson Cano as an example, but guys are getting DFA'd from the roster crunch. And if there's a guy out there that didn't make a big league roster, like didn't make the cut somewhere else that the Cubs want, and they go after him, then that's another a case where they have to make a decision on opening up a 40-man spot, opening up an active roster spot, whatever it is. So that I think maybe these next few days, and then definitely once Ethan is able to come off the IL and all these other guys can come off the IL, going to be definitely some decisions to be made. Again, we can't predict injuries, so that might make things easier if guys end up having to go on the IL. Not things easier as in like those decisions become more clear with the way to go. But yeah, I mean,
some of them are too soon for my taste. Scott on the chat saying DFA Frazier, he's batting 143. I mean, he's hurt, and for me, it's too small of a sample size for the risk reward you'd get of hanging on to him and see what he can do.
Say the same thing about Hermosillo, too.
And Aaron is pointing out, don't forget about David Bodie. Like, boy, I haven't heard that name.
Yeah, but he's not supposed to come back for at least a few more months.
Right.
So you're hoping by then the Cubs have some answers in a lot of these guys.
Agreed.
And when he comes back, you're just kind of like, all right, he can just slide on in here. So
well, let's do our power rankings. We'll try and do them once a week. And for this set of power rankings, I don't know if it's going to continue that we go this way, but Cody and I talked about.
Yeah, what do you guys got?
Cody and I put this together, and we said, all right, we're going to do for the way they're playing right now. Because before, we kind of were talking about, well, this guy has value because he's proven it. Like Contreras is a leader. Mm-hmm. You know, he's got to be on the top. Same thing with Kyle Hendricks. We're talking about current Cubs production. Yep. So we moved Ian Happ up to number 1.
Yeah, he's got a weighted runs created of 151 right now. That's pretty good. I'm not an analytics guy, but I think that says that's pretty good. According to, if I were to ask Corey or Brendan, they would tell me that's pretty good.
That's the Ian Happ the Cubs want.
Yes.
And by the way, he's made some pretty nice plays in the field. He made a really nice catch.
On Marquee, they did like a whole segment about how he's improved on his defense.
He had a great sliding catch moving forward, and then he had that catch right up on the foul line. Mm-hmm. That was Friday night, wasn't it? Down the third base or left field line, right up against the wall.
Yeah,
like he slid up
was that Friday in Milwaukee? Or was that? I want to say that, or maybe there was another play that happened in Atlanta too. That was really good that he did. He's had a few.
He's had some nice plays.
He's had a few nice plays out in left field, and that's like when you look at again the Cubs left fielder of the future. If Happ is hitting the way he does from both sides of the plate right now,
much better from the right side,
and is playing like good defense as he has been, that's a guy you look at and it's like, okay, then they have that place on the roster set. Yeah. And they don't have to worry about finding someone else to go play left field because he's producing the way they need him to be.
Yeah. No, it is, admittedly, and I think I said this last week, I expected Ian Happ to be good, but this is like all-star level stuff that we're getting out of him.
And everybody, you do have to remember it's like 1/8 of the season. Like it's a small, but he was good at the end of last season, so now he's kind of building on that, and you hope this continues for Ian Happ the rest of the season. Yeah. At number 2, we went with Cody likes to call Chicago's next mayor, Keegan Thompson.
He should be. After everything he did during that Brewers series, he should be running for mayor. We need someone who is going to go to war for us.
Or at least replace Tunney as an alderman on the north side somewhere, right? That seems like a reasonable possibility.
I'm glad you guys did take my advice, though, from last week. I still thought 5 was too low, and even though he gave up his first run of the year, I mean, he still threw 3 innings. He gave up 1 run, and he's just the ultimate multi-inning weapon. Throw him in there when you need him to shut things down for a few innings. Like if it feels like when he goes out there, it's more like who's going to score on him, or I was getting that way, like who's going to actually score on Keegan versus like when is it going to happen, right? Like it was feeling like there was like he could have made a few more starts without outings without giving up a run. I also learned, so I tweeted out that it was 16 1/3 innings on a scoreless streak to start the season, which is true. He did.
And now it's 16 2/3 with one run, right?
It was 15 2/3.
Oh, it's 15.
So he got the 2 outs. So technically, he did last 16 1/3 innings without giving up a run. Like that's true. But as far as like the official stats go, you have to like have a complete scoreless inning for it to go on the record. So he got 2 outs that inning.
But this season he's pitched 16 2/3 innings and given up 1 earned run.
Yeah, something like that.
That is correct.
Whatever.
Right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah,
but I'm like his streak.
Streak.
His
You're talking about streak. Yeah.
In the books is 15 2/3 because he only got the 2 outs and didn't complete that scoreless inning. So those 2 outs don't count towards
semantics.
The official. Yeah, it's
semantics.
Right?
So because I tweeted 16 1/3 and then I saw like in the game notes it was 15 2/3. So I'm like. Had to do a little bit of digging.
Okay. Your tweet's okay in my book.
Yeah, I think it matters.
Had to do a little bit, but 15 2/3 is still.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Another one when you talk about like, are you surprised? Like surprise level? Are we? I mean,
1 to 10.
I think.
My surprise level is a 9.5.
Yeah,
I would say
how,
like 9.5.
How dominant Keegan Thompson has looked for sure.
I thought he'd be good, but not dominant.
Yeah. And he's one reason.
Him to Josh Hader.
When you look at Game 1 against the White Sox, I don't love the Smiley matchup. A lefty against the White Sox, like they kill lefties. But if it doesn't go well early, Keegan Thompson is rested, didn't pitch yesterday, has had the day off. He could come in and give you a good chunk of a game. So Smiley might be on a short hook if it's not going well against a lineup that just crushes left-handed hitting. Best in baseball against left-handed hitting and the worst against right-handed pitching. So talk about weird splits. Number 3, Seya Suzuki, the National League Player of the Month. So obviously if we were just looking at the month, we'd say Seya Suzuki is number 1. Yeah. We're saying he's at number 3 currently because there was a little bit of a slide, but he did finish on a high note.
Yeah, he struggled the last week. He had just over the last 7 days, 3 hits and 24 at bats. So definitely a little slide, but I think he built up enough good fortune. I don't know, good whatever from his first 3.5 weeks in the big leagues towards this last week.
There's a lot of striking out looking. And again, I'd rather him do that than, expanding the zone. There were a few, though, where it's like it's painted like right there in the zone. So maybe it's hard to complain whenever the dude's so good, right? But there were a few moments where you're like, man, like it's right there for you. Would have liked to see you take a hack at it. Sometimes it's like it can be a little frustrating from a fan perspective that like, hey, dude, swing the bat. You're really good at baseball. Like, stop trying to work a walk. Like that. Sometimes that's kind of how it felt from my perspective. Not taking anything away from him at all, but there are a few bats in there where it's like.
So you're getting to the point where it was with Schwarber a little bit. Like you do want to see him. Like there was a moment where Schwarber would take lots of walks, and it got to the point for part of his career where it was like, no, he needs to provide that power and that production more than he needs to take a walk there. You're almost there with Seya. Like, I'm not. Like, I want to see him be that guy that is willing to, and gosh, unless it's like the game is on the line, it's the last at bat, and I want him to stick to his zone and force them to throw him strikes that he can hit.
Again, it's not really a complaint. It's just there's a few at bats in there where I'm like, man, like, you got one right there in the zone and you let it go by. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I understand he's still adjusting. Pitchers have begun to adjust to him. Corbin Burnes really made him look bad in his very first at bat yesterday. Second at bat, a little bit of the same basically. Then the third at bat, he got the RBI double, right? Like, so he showed some adjustment in that game, and I'm happy about that. So it's not even really a complaint; it's just something that I've noticed. If you wanted me to nitpick at something,
apparently in the chat they're saying that Ian Happ is newly engaged. He announced. So a couple of great things happening to him this week. One, he got engaged. 1A. He's the top of our power rankings. So, I mean, it depends on.
Yeah, you sure this isn't 1A?
I don't know. 1A, but it's probably, he's probably most excited about the power rankings. You
should ask him and see.
Yeah.
You should see what he favors.
This should be the number one thing. I mean, it's nice to get engaged or whatever, but.
Right. But that happens to lots of people.
Yeah.
Not everybody reaches our power rankings.
Exactly.
CHGO. So, I mean, if you're looking at rare things to happen in life, like it's certainly more rare to be number one on our power rankings.
Right.
So Seya's down to number 3. David Robertson is in at number 4. He had not been on the list at all. Probably not getting enough credit, partially because of all the love that's going, rightfully so, to Keegan. But Robertson has been spectacular. 10 innings, no runs, got another save.
4-out save yesterday.
I know Rossi has said, like, that's not necessarily and we mentioned this in our preview to the season podcast, like, we don't think there's going to be just one closer. Currently, he's getting a lot of those opportunities, but Ross reaffirmed that, again, he's just one of the guys that's getting that opportunity.
Yeah, Ross, I mean, he really likes David Robertson. He's 5 save opportunities so far. He does like Wick, though, because the other day was it in Atlanta when he put Robertson in the 8th because he thought that's the inning, the high-leverage inning he needed Robertson, and then he trusted Roe Wick to come out and finish off the 9th, which he got the save, too. Michael Givens has a save, and let's go back to the surprise rankings with David Robertson. You picked Roe Wick to lead the teams in saves. We picked Givens.
Yeah.
And Robertson has double what they have combined right now.
Right.
I think I'm surprised that, I mean, he is
1 to 10. How surprised are you, Robertson?
Yeah, he has a good pedigree. He has been a solid.
He's a 10 to me.
Back end of he has a solid back end of the bullpen pedigree. But I don't think any of us expected him.
When Robertson signed, everyone looked at it as
like Tommy John surgery a couple years ago. Like,
when he signed, a lot of people looked at it as like a reclamation project type thing because he barely pitched last year. So
the value he can have for this organization this season would be real simple. Number one, if they're good enough, he stays in this role and he continues to do a great job. Number two, and probably more likely, is if they don't get there and they're selling at the trade deadline, if he's pitching like this, you're going to get another take just like you got for Kimbrel.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people be looking for Robertson. So he can have value for you in a couple different ways.
Because it's like $3.5 million on the 1-year contract. They're not shelling out
It sucks.
huge.
If Eloy's still hurt at the deadline, feel free. We'll give you Robertson for Eloy.
What was
he's not
says no?
He's not a guy that is a long-term piece of the Cubs' future, but that doesn't mean he can't have a great impact on the long-term future of the Cubs.
Yeah. And I also think when you talk about Rowick as a potential like closer of the future, even though he's not like he's already been, he's not like a rookie. He's had a few years in the big leagues, but as someone that could be a closer, a high leverage guy for the next few years, learning from what David Robertson is doing right now, especially I think someone tweeted it from the Cubs account, like maybe bringing him in mid-inning isn't the best. I'm like, he did that's like his third or fourth time this season that he's done that. He seems to be comfortable coming in and just shutting things down. I didn't think it was a bad spot to bring in David Robertson, but
I tweeted that from the Cubs account yesterday in regards to a lot of people complaining about Stroman being taken out after the seventh inning with 90 pitches. And a lot of people thought they should have left Stroman in and then bring what you would believe would be Wick then. And all I was trying to say is that maybe
bringing Wick
the numbers say that Wick is better in clean innings than he is with runners on.
So it wasn't referring to Robertson as a first.
No, it wasn't referring to
Robertson. I got confused on that then. But no, Robertson or Rowick learning from what Robertson's doing right now, if you do want him to be maybe a closer of the future or, the next few years, but definitely at least a back end of the bullpen guy, what David Robertson's done in his first however many, 9 appearances, 8 appearances, 10 innings, scoreless, 1 hit, like that's
one hit in 10 innings.
That's a good lesson to learn from for sure. Yeah.
So Nico Hoerner's our number 5 in our top 5 power rankings for the Cubs currently. And 279, F4, 0.6. He's off to a good start. A lot of the chat that we've had going on the YouTube channel in post-game shows, and I've seen it even today. I don't remember who it was from. A lot of people still don't want to see him batting 9th. They want to see him moved up higher. And I still will stand with, for now, I'm okay with where he's at because he's comfortable.
Well, he batted 7th yesterday. So.
Yeah, so I'm okay with him slowly starting to move out of there, but I don't need him batting leadoff right now. I don't need him batting second yet. I
think on Friday I said something along the lines.
I heard a beep. Maybe it's just in my own head. Go ahead.
Anyway,
Ryan's got a beep going
on Friday after that 11-1 barn burning. I think I said something along the lines of, moving him up to second or somewhere between 6 and 7. So I was happy to see him at 7 yesterday with Madrigal batting 9th. I know Madrigal is really struggling right now. We'll get to that, but I like Nico in one of those 3 spots, 6, 7, or 2. If you wanted to move Seya to 3 and Hap to 4, you know what I mean. But I also after yesterday really like Rivas and Seya back to back. Like I tweeted yesterday 5 things I wanted to see from the Cubs. I wanted to see production from the 1 and 2 holes, and you got it from Rivas and Seya. So
that's our next thing, trending up Rivas and Strowman to the 2 stars yesterday. Really,
right?
2 of them.
Strowman
was Rivas a star yesterday.
Rivas was good in the leadoff.
Rivas, he was
got a hit or 2, right?
Yeah, he was. Okay. He scored the second run because Wisdom hit that homer, right? And then Rivas scored the second run off the Seya double. Yeah. I mean,
I liked him in the leadoff spot though.
Rivas he's giving you exactly the same type of approach that Ortega was bringing you. I always understood why Ortega was leading off.
But now you'd rather see Rivas.
Well, yeah, I'd rather see Rivas because Ortega wasn't exactly producing, but I always understood why he was there. Rivas he was playing well no matter where David Ross was putting him. Now, he's earning at bats, and that's why I was saying earlier, it's like if Rivas gets optioned, we riot. You know what I mean? So if you're getting production out of Rivas and Seya in the 1 or 2 spots, that really sets you up in the middle of the order for guys like Hap and Wisdom, and hopefully Frank can get out of his thing as well, and a bunch of other guys. It just really makes the offense go a little bit more smoothly, and it will get back to what we were seeing, those first couple weeks of the year. And a big part of why the offense has really just been kind of not great is because you weren't getting production out of Ortega and Seya together, because Seya finally people started to see what he was. So the lack of production from Ortega started to show a lot more because Seya wasn't doing anything. So now you're trying out this next guy here who's been hitting well, and you just hoping seeing a larger sample size how he does there. Again, I love the approach that Rivas has at the plate and hit to all fields. You can work a walk, So, yeah, I am optimistic about that.
I'm also very optimistic about Marcus Stroman after yesterday. And it's just one game, but he also pitched better the outing before that. And I think it's way more likely that we see that Marcus Stroman more often this season than we see the guy that we saw in the first couple outings.
Yeah, and Ross kind of said it, and then it goes back to the thing. Like, Stroman doesn't make that excuse. He's like, the last couple games, like, I just pitched bad, whatever it was. The second and third start for sure. The first was like an okay start to the year.
We can make some excuses though. Cold, Colorado.
He won't make the excuse.
Right,
but Ross also kind of brought up, which he said a few times, that like the way the season started compared to when spring training started was obviously early. So there's also a couple of those games where those would still be spring training starts in a normal year. And so, yeah, again, so Stroman's not making the excuse. Ross is kind of giving him an out, saying like, hey, maybe the mechanical issue, stuff like that, he would have still been, fixing that in spring training. Instead, he's pitching in regular season games. So maybe this is just the Stroman that has figured out the mechanical issues or whatever it was that was bugging him those couple starts. And now, he had that good start on Wednesday, I think it was, or was it Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever day it was in Atlanta. He had a solid start, his quality start, second one of the year for the Cubs, and then he follows it up with 7 shutout innings of the Brewers. Like that's a good role to start on, but obviously you need to see him keep it going. And
against a Brewers team that had scored 20 runs and hit 800 home runs in the first 2 games of the series.
And going up against Corbin Burnes.
It was a home run derby from Friday. It was like I was in LA. I said
endless.
Friday, Saturday, it was just home run on home run on home run. I was like, what's happening?
Stroman still has a 5 ERA, so he's still a bad signing. That's what I was told.
No, we'll see.
The bitterness that is creeping into Cody.
I've been getting murdered on Twitter because all I asked was for people to give Marcus Stroman a chance.
No, you asked for an apology.
I asked for an apology, but it's basically all I'm saying is for all the overreactionary people to just calm down and give the guy some time. I mean, we had a shortened spring training, and even despite that, he had more good starts than he did bad. So I don't know why people were complaining about him, to be honest. So, yeah.
Take that.
Oh,
we can't. That's trademarked.
Your mentions
can't use
brutal. Your mentions
Take
were
that.
brutal yesterday.
Cody, why do you listen to the Twitter trolls? I don't really listen. I just like to make fun of them. So, yeah.
Did you have any hot bets over the weekend that you put down and won, or did you have any real killers?
I had a really good gambling weekend. I didn't say this on the bet show today when we were going over our winners from Sunday, but I actually bet on the Brewers to win on Sunday.
Oh,
so
wow.
I feel like it was like a reverse jinx. So
That's one way to spin it.
In a way, spin zone. In a way, I helped the Cubs win on Sunday. I deserve a paycheck now. Thank you, Ricketts. But I made that bet on PointsBet.
How about you settle for a Subway from somebody?
I'll take a Subway and a $5 ticket to sit in the bleachers at Miller Park. I don't care. I'll take that.
It's American Family Field now.
Whatever. No one gives a shit.
Yeah, it's Miller Park.
Anyway.
Sears Tower.
I did what did I bet? I did bet no run first inning on Saturday. Or not Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, no run first inning on Sunday for the Cubs game, and it hit, I believe. And I did it on PointsBet. And the best way to support CHGO is if you download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. Let's speak it into existence. Let's get that Seya shirt, Eric. Thank you. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you. Remember that PointsBet is your home for live in-game betting. They even have a new exclusive feature, Live NBA Same-Game Parlay. For the first time ever, build the perfect live same-game parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. You can even boost your live same-game parlays. And now online sign-up is available in Illinois. You can actually download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish off from your phone. I say it every show. If Luke can do it, literally any of you in the chat can do it. I promise you. If you just got to see Luke look at his
Pretty sure that's starting to become an insult, but I'll let it go.
Signing up with the fastest sportsbook is now easier than ever, so you can start living your bet life in seconds. Use code CHGO to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet, live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Luke, that's not really an insult. It's just really fun
Factual?
to say.
Is that what you're saying?
It's kind of factual, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You got to put the readers on, and then you're like one-fingering it. It's funny.
I don't understand. What am I supposed to go 2 fingers on the phone? It doesn't make sense. That's an iPad.
I just, like, I'm a thumb guy.
You're all with the thumbs?
Yeah. Are you one of the ones that you like
I
poke
use
it
my
like that?
I see Luke hold it, and he's he's just like tapping. Like, I feel like me and Ryan are like thumb guys.
Oh, thumb. I'm usually one thumb.
My wife is a thumb typer on her phone. I'm definitely point and pack with one finger.
I'm definitely one or 2. I'm definitely 2 thumbs, if even that. Never the pointer finger.
Interesting. CHGO, hope you love what we're doing. We've been around a little while now. If you haven't noticed, podcasts every day, live shows, every team. The post-game shows, we crank them out for you. Premium written content from Ryan and other members at allchgo.com. Make sure you sign up. Make sure you rate and review our podcast, please. We'd appreciate that.
Hell yeah.
Dope merch is out there. Starting to see it more and more. You get a free shirt when you become a member, so you can pick out which dope merch you want. They'll send it out to you. Members-only Discord, the CHGO Lounge. Any suggestions, let us know. We're just trying to be here with you.
I was wearing my black CHGO shirt with like the flag
white logo? The white flag?
I was wearing it in my TikTok I made this weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah.
Good TikTok, too.
It was
it like Cubs fans in my mentions?
Yeah, it was just like making fun of Cubs fans in my mentions that are screaming about things all the time. Looking forward to making the one for May.
Love that.
Should be fun.
So we are getting ready for Crosstown, right?
Yes.
Sox still playing as we're recording this podcast. Off to a very disappointing start to their season. Cubs off to almost an identical record.
Yeah.
Looks like they might have the same amount of wins coming into the Crosstown, which would be shocking.
Wild,
Yeah, totally shocking.
Pretty funny, too.
So
Kevin went
that was
ahead and
Kevin.
said
That
it.
was Kevin, Sox fans.
Someone in the
I
chat said something about Cease earlier.
Yes, it might have been Rachel, but somebody was saying I can't stand watching
Cease be
Cease.
good.
It's making the Quintana deal worse and worse. And so I thought to myself, the Sox need our help. Our South Side brethren need our help. Yeah. And I'm here to offer up some possible deals. So what I'd like to do is
possible deals.
I'm putting together a mixture of, because again, it's about exploring and development for the Cubs this season. Mm-hmm. So there's some moving chess pieces, the way I look at it. And I think that they could potentially help out the Sox. What I would like to do, because when we do Crosstown, the pre and post game, we're going to do it with the Sox guys. So we're going to have Crosstown pre and post shows. So we'll all be on one set instead of dividing the city. We have enough division in the city. We're all going to do it together, right? And I thought we could take some of these deals to these guys tomorrow and see what exactly they want. Because I think back to that Quintana deal when Cubs fans were first kind of tinkering with the idea, like, well, Quintana, that might be available for a little while. I remember my friends that are Sox fans, they wanted Javi, they wanted Schwarber, and they wanted one more guy. And I was like, that's
a lot.
What are you talking about?
That's a lot.
And so usually on both sides, when you're talking Crosstown, emotion gets involved and the deals are ridiculous that everybody wants. So these are probably ridiculous. But there's some that I want to throw out at our Sox guys from CHGO. How would you feel, and I already know Cody's against this, Marcus Stroman, I'm not giving up on him. I'm selling high. I think he's going to be good. I think he really would help the White Sox. They're at least one starter short if they want to compete for the World Series. They might be two because you don't really know when Lance Lynn's coming back. They're hopeful, but right now they're Kopech and they're Cease.
Yeah.
And Giolito.
Okay, they got 3 guys. That's not going to be enough to be the best team in the American League. It's just not going to be. Marcus Stroman, if you're willing to give them Stroman for a couple of years at a fairly reasonable amount, so he would be with them to compete for multiple years for a potential World Series. I want back Vaughn and Crochet.
Yeah.
Don't you want 2 pieces if you're giving them Marcus Stroman, a guy that could be their – I mean, if you put Marcus Stroman at like 3 or 4 in their rotation, he's going to shove.
Yeah, and the contract isn't like
it's not
bad
crazy.
It's not long term.
Jerry can afford that.
3 for 71.
Should be able to.
Oh, he can afford that.
He's going to pay their catcher $80 million.
And then you add Lance Lynn coming back to that rotation. It's like, wait a minute, because Keuchel is not a pitcher anymore. We'll talk about that in the Crosstown, but like Dallas Keuchel, forget about it, Sox fans. Like you don't want
5
him
walks
pitching.
yesterday. You know how many Marcus Stroman had? 1 walk yesterday.
I'm going to say there's going to be pushback, but on the Stroman deal, I'm just telling them you get a lot of good starts out of Marcus Stroman.
On the short term, Crochet is Tommy John, so we won't see him the rest of this year.
That doesn't hurt
and
them.
Most of next year.
Crochet doesn't necessarily hurt them.
They would miss Vaughn for sure.
They would miss Vaughn for sure. I'm also
would you be willing to take one of those guys?
I'd be willing to take
straight up
one.
for Stroman.
Not straight up.
Not straight up, no.
Crochet,
I
think
would
I'd have
want
to have more than Crochet.
If they didn't want to throw in Crochet, I would want Vaughn and then some mid-level guys that have some potential. You know what I mean?
When I look at it, and Crochet's a bullpen guy, like the Cubs have done very well in the last few years.
I don't think they see him
picking up bullpen guys off the free agency. They don't need to.
But they're not
trade for a reliever.
They don't believe Crochet is a bullpen guy long term though. They look at him like they look at Chris Sale. That's how they looked at Crochet when they drafted him.
Absolutely, they think he's like the same guy.
And how did they bring up Chris Sale? Through the bullpen.
A lot of guys
they do think
he's going to have Tommy John, and I guarantee you, when he comes back, they're going to try to stretch him out.
Now, and I already see guys on here.
Clearly, we are just throwing it out there and just having fun with it.
There's no proposed deal. It's proposed by me.
Yeah, it's proposed by a Grandpa Stuckey.
Jake says, I would love Vaughn, but I bet the CHGO Sox guys would say there's no shot at that deal.
They love Andrew Vaughn.
No chance.
And they should love Andrew Vaughn.
Andrew Vaughn would be the centerpiece of that deal for sure.
So if they say no, I just want to know what their proposed trade back would be. What do they want for that? Because they need 2 things right now. They need a left-handed power bat, and they need a starter. And he's not just a starter. He's the best pitching free agent out there.
Yeah.
Right? And they didn't think they needed it. But then Lance Lynn went and got hurt.
Yeah.
Now you need him.
I think
they also didn't know that Dallas Keuchel was
going
to be this bad. Getting money spent is the deal. All right, so here's another. Let's make a deal for Crosstown as we get ready. All right, Sox fans. How about Ian Happ for Vaughn? Ian Happ can hit from the left side. He could play in you don't
play outfield. Left or
Signed me
right.
up for that deal yesterday.
Eloy isn't out there right now.
Yeah.
He's injury prone. Now you got a guy that could play left field. You could put Eloy at DH, you can move guys around, but for now you need a left-handed bat to carry that lineup. I'm giving you Ian Happ.
Yeah.
And he also happens to be a switch hitter, and you'd have him under control, and he's a young player.
Again,
I'm not excited. After the way he's played, I wouldn't be excited about it as a Cubs fan to see him go, because now I'm starting to think, he is a piece of the future. Mm-hmm. But the other side of my brain reminds me it is only 1/8 of the season so far.
Yeah.
And he hasn't.
The thing about this proposal is that we'd have to wait and see how Ian Happ plays into July. Like, if he keeps this up, if he has a weighted runs created between 130 and 150.
I believe the White Sox need to make one of these deals now.
Oh, now. Okay.
They don't need that trade at the deadline. They need them now.
That's
because
fair.
some of those guys might be back by, but they might be too late.
And then at that
the
point,
Twins might be gone.
At that point, the Sox could let Eloy be a DH. Don't have to worry about him jumping into fences and left field anymore.
Yep.
Happ for Vaughn straight up. I do really like Vaughn. I think Andrew Vaughn's
the Cubs definitely.
great player.
The Cubs definitely.
How much younger is he, Kevin? How much younger is
He's
Vaughn
under
than
25, right?
Happ?
Let me see.
Well, Happ's like 26, right?
I believe Happ is older.
I think Happ is 27.
And
Andrew
Vaughn
Vaughn
is-
just turned 24. Ian Happ is turning 28 this year.
Oh, okay.
And
My bad.
also,
3 years.
if you're not sure about Schwindel or Rivas as the first baseman of the future,
Exactly.
Andrew Vaughn can play first base,
That's right.
and
Right.
he looks like a first
Well,
baseman
you
of the
could
future.
also-
The only reason he's not first base for the Sox right now is because Jose Abreu is still there.
Right.
Like so.
And you can move Rivas to left field.
Yeah, I mean, but all I'm saying is like if Rivas doesn't pan out or Frank Schwindel doesn't pan out, and you got Andrew Vaughn as a first baseman, like that's right now profiles as a solid major league first baseman, I think, and he could be. So that would be I think a deal that would look like they gave up Ian Happ for
Nationally,
a
people wouldn't
prospect.
be shocked, right? Like, okay, I'm going to save my other two for tomorrow, but that's what we call a tease. Now, if the Sox fans at CHGO don't like that deal or either one of those, what if we combine those deals, Marcus Stroman and Ian Happ for Vaughn and Crochet? Now, that would be way too good for them to turn down.
Yeah.
You give them Happ and Stroman, you're giving up on the north side completely.
I feel like
Oh,
I feel like the Sox need to send more. If we send,
I would
Happ
agree.
and-
I would
Yeah,
agree.
another
So
one.
if they counter and say, well, that's not enough, then I would say, well, we'll give you your left-handed bat and we'll give you your starter, but now you got to give us Vaughn, Crochet, and somebody from AA. Player to be named later.
maybe Cespedes.
They'll never do it.
At
They'll
that-
never do it, but I'm telling, like,
Yeah, no, they would never do that. You guys, I won't be here, but you guys will ask these guys tomorrow about these deals, and I guarantee everyone gets a hell no.
Oh,
hell no.
and I
from
tell you who
Herb
else is going to
or
give it?
Sean or whoever it is.
Sox Twitter, or just that's the Sox
Oh,
chat
Sox-
that'll be mixed in here with our Cubs fans on the chat.
Hell no.
Because the
They
two
are
are going to be
going to
together.
hate us.
There's going to be together right there. Yeah, and they won't be calling me Stuckmeyer. They'll be calling me something else.
Yeah.
I know how it is.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying there's a deal to be made because I do believe the Sox are good enough to win the World Series, but not with the team that they have right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think they want to wait till the trade deadline. Yeah. Just an idea.
That's a fair assessment.
We'll see what they do.
I don't think. I mean, this is fun to like envision and talk
Yeah,
about and
I
everything.
mean, that's
I don't
what
think
that's
it's
what we're
ever
here
going
for,
to happen.
fun.
Yeah, we're just having fun. So everyone in the chat who thinks that we're being a bunch of morons right now, just know that we're just having fun. I personally do not want to trade Marcus Stroman. I think me and Ryan were talking about earlier. We kind of see Marcus Stroman as kind of like the Cubs version of, or the next version of John Lester.
Oh, I don't know if I go that far, but
I swear that you said it.
I said in the way that the go read my story. Go read
Not,
my story
not in terms of like production.
allchgo.com.
Not in terms of like production, but just like locker room presence and like
could
top of
be.
the rotation type
Veteran
guy.
leadership.
The only thing is he doesn't
Veteran
have the accomplishments that John Lester
Yeah,
had
exactly.
when John
Yeah.
Lester got to Chicago. John Lester
I
was,
said it's like
what, two-time
very
World
like
Series or one World Series, whatever
similar.
it was.
You can similar a lot. I can't say the word.
Go read my story on allchgo.com about Stroman from yesterday. But basically, what I was saying was they both came in with high expectations based on their track record. They're both successful pitchers, but also pretty sizable contracts and are veterans. And that's where that comparison I tried to make is like, hey, they both struggled in April when May hit. Both had great games on May 1st against the Brewers, 7 shutout innings. But go read the rest of my story if you haven't yet.
That's right.
I like
allchgo.com. Ginger is disavowing all these trades. She wants no part of any of my suggested crosstown trades, mostly because she said earlier in a chat that she doesn't want to lose Ian Happ's podcast.
Yeah.
But you know what? He could still do the podcast on the south side of
he'll
town.
just
You
be a
just
White
have to
Sox
listen.
player.
Yeah, just a little different flavor to it. You
uniform.
know what I'm saying?
Also creates room in the outfield for when Brendan Davis comes up, too. Think about it that way. They got a lot of outfielders on this team. White Sox don't.
I do like Ravi's trade proposal. Tim Anderson for Contreras and Wisdom.
I tell you what, I got another player you could throw in on that. Now that I think about it, you could put Frazier in on that deal because now you have a roll of the dice left-handed bat they could put in AAA and see if he starts to come around. Then you might have a power left-handed bat.
Perhaps.
We'll see.
Just throwing it out there. If you enjoy CHGO, one way to help us continue to grow is download the PointsBet app. Use the code CHGO when you sign up. Not only you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you get that free CHGO membership, which unlocks our web content, and you get that free shirt of your choice in the CHGO locker. Questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you out. And in case you missed it, online sign-up is available in Illinois. Download the PointsBet app right now. Register your account, start to finish, all from your phone. You'll be signing up with the fastest sportsbook, and it's easier than ever. I say it all the time. If Cody can do it, you can do it. Start living your bet life in seconds. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Do we have any mailbag questions to wrap up our podcast today? Did we get anything in there that's interesting?
Yes.
As interesting as my
There we go.
trade suggestions?
We have some from the Discord. I also sent out a tweet. Let's start with the Discord first because they all subscribe to allchgo.com.
Preferential team
Rachel says, who is doing better than you expected in these first few weeks and who is doing worse?
Better names we already had. Keegan Thompson, right?
Yep.
Robertson, better.
Yeah.
Suzuki, better. Efros, better.
Oh, Efros for sure.
That's at least 4. Hap, better. That's 5.
Yep.
Nico, 6. I'd say all those are better than I expected.
Nico definitely defensively.
Yeah.
I think I don't know.
That's a good point.
He's a good fielder. He has good defensive instincts. Obviously, at second base, he could have won a Gold Glove. But I think he's surprised a lot of people with how well he has played at shortstop this season.
As far as worse, I mean, I know he's on the IL right now, but Clint Frazier hasn't had the best start as a Cub. Hermosillo's really kind of disappointed me, even though I think a big reason is because he's not getting consistent playing time, but that's just me. Other people don't agree with that.
I think you have to take advantage of the playing time you get, though. If you're going to last
in the
major leagues,
it's like
I can't.
Leagues,
you got to take advantage
exactly.
of it.
And like that's like someone like Alfonso Rivas, he's doing it right. So like
I'd say my top 2 are Madrigal and
Madrigal,
Contreras. Contreras just because he just hasn't seemed to like get consistently, be consistent from the plate. He's still playing good defense. He's still that leader that they have, and that's what you need. Like a little more from him offensively. I don't have the stats out in front of me. It just feels like he's not producing, especially if he wants the contract that he wants and stuff like that. Just, the production hasn't been there yet. He says the whole extension and arbitration stuff is not weighing on him. So I wonder what he's seeing. But I mean, he is hitting 250 right now. 354 on base, 426 slugging. I thought it would be better than that, but it's not like he's horrendous or anything. But Madrigal striking out a lot more than he ever has. That 3 strikeout game on Saturday, he said he thinks it's the first time he's ever struck out 3 times in his entire life.
Right. He struck out a few more times yesterday.
Yeah, twice I think yesterday. So it's just I we're still I don't think it's even 70 plate appearances yet into the season. So a few good games, 2-3 hit games in a row can obviously switch up a lot of those numbers. But just from what we're seeing, we haven't seen the Nick Madrigal, the guy that he's been in his career and even was with the first couple of years of the Sox. So, that surprised me just how much he's struggled, especially recently with striking out and just missing balls.
Yeah.
That's not numbers-wise or even eye test what Madrigal ever was this first couple of years. So, again, still calendar just flipped to May. Like, you still got a lot of time to turn that around this season. But just as far as the first 3.5-ish weeks, that's been a surprise to me.
Yeah. Rachel also asked, thoughts on the Mets DFAing Cano? That was today.
It's a lot of dough.
About $40+ million that the Mets are just eating.
For this year and next year.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a completely different ownership group. Completely different front office.
What you're saying. Ryan said it perfectly.
It's just they decided they could afford or wanted to pay Robinson Cano's contract. And while he's not on the team anymore, that's not going to happen with the Cubs, at least not right now. They're not,
Jason Hayward is earning.
He was bringing no
right
value
now
to the Mets. The Cubs believe there is some value coming from Hayward, even if it's not at the plate.
Yeah, I mean, that question is obviously
Jason Hayward actually hasn't even been that bad at the plate.
That question is obviously tied to Jason Hayward and the Cubs DFAing and eating his contract. Like, no, it's not going to happen. I don't have thoughts on Robinson Cano because I know those are 2 different situations.
At this
the front office look at both the 2 front offices look at the players differently. Yeah. Jason Hayward's not getting DFA'd. Not right now.
Also, the Mets are trying to win that division.
Yes.
Right.
Not that the Cubs aren't, but they're in a better position to win their division.
For sure.
Are they still in first place over there?
I believe so.
Are.
There you go.
Yeah.
Damn, why did I switch? I had them at first, and then DeGrom got hurt and I switched to the Braves. Should have went with my gut.
Kevin, next one. Any thoughts on the pitch clock video that's gone viral?
Was that the strikeout one?
Yeah. Kevin showed it to me earlier. A guy had 2 strikes on him in the minor leagues, and I guess he stepped out of the box for too long, and the umpire called him out because, that's the rule down there right now. So,
right. I love
thoughts.
it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I just, if it makes the game go faster, I like that. But also at the same time, it's like when you're looking at this, that's these rules. We've said it before, but the rules aren't a finished product. That's why they're testing them out in the minor leagues. So when they do eventually, if they do, and when they do eventually come up to the majors, those rules aren't like, there's not going to be so much blowback, and they're not as controversial because they have already. They're never going to be perfect, but they've already tested them out and seeing what works and what doesn't at the minor. So it is weird to see that, like, because I think it was like 7 seconds total. Something like that. I saw someone tweet that, like, that's how long he was out of the box or not set, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like
life's
that long.
too short. Life's too short for 4-hour baseball games.
Was it the time, or was it the fact that he stepped out of the box and wasn't supposed to?
No, he could step out of the box. It's just he stepped out for too long.
Okay,
Yeah.
It felt
Ring 'em
short.
up.
It felt short, but that's also what this time is for. Is that's what they're doing in the minors. They're testing it out. They're trying to. I don't think that will be.
It'll be interesting to see how much the MLB actually enforces that going in, like, at the major league level. There's a lot of money involved with these players, right? Like,
well, I bet I wouldn't doubt that a lot of it would be knowing the umpires would be a little depends on who it is. If Mike Trout steps out for 10 seconds, they're probably letting him get back into the box.
Yeah, it was wild to see, and you don't really like that. But again, it's that's how these things evolve, and that's how they test them out. And I you hope that by the time it gets to a Mike Trout level, like, that's not an issue, or just it's everyone's used to it, or they figured out how best to work that rule, right? So
I just feel like if it becomes a major problem in the minor leagues where so many guys are getting strikes or striking out because of the pitch clock rule, I do think they might need to, when it gets to the majors, maybe move that up to maybe 7 or 8 seconds instead. Because like, no one wants to see that. Like, I watched the video, Kevin showed it to me, and the guy just walked back, and it's like, all right, you're moving the game along, but like, people don't, like, the people in the stands genuinely don't want to see that.
Cody, 3 words: ring him up. Is this the last mailbag question?
Yeah, this is the last.
All right. What do we have?
It's like a 3-part.
It's all combined.
Do you see Justin Steele being in jeopardy of losing his starting spot when some of the others start coming back from the injured list? How much of a leash does he have? Maybe he could be a specialty weapon like Keegan Thompson if he continues to struggle in the rotation. That is from CHGO in the Discord.
To answer the first one, no. I don't think he will lose his starting spot when Wade Miley or Albert Mills come back. Like, the Cubs want him to be a starter, and they obviously see something in him, and he's working through some things, so they're going to keep him going. So that also answers the second question, is he does have a decently long leash. Maybe not in game. You saw he only pitched 3 innings on Saturday. So in game, but like, as far as like, they're not going to take him out of the rotation next week or the week after. Like, he'll have time to, improve or show that he's not
I will say
starter
this,
material, whatever it is.
I'll say this about Steele. Yes, his last couple starts haven't been great, but for some odd reason, on days that he has started, the Cubs defense has decided to be trash. On the
Those
days
2
that
errors.
from Wisdom and Hermosillo on Saturday. Like,
we're supposed to be good defenders. Like,
right.
There are
like,
good
like, those happen, and like, that just started it all. And then, like, as a pitcher, what do you expect when you're not getting backed up by your defense? You know what I mean? So I know Justin Steele is my guy. I also forgot to send him good luck in his DMs on Saturday. So
that's your fault
you can
again.
blame me again.
Again.
I will take the blame
Taking
for
the
my
guy's
guy
career
Justin
down.
Steele. I will take every bullet for that guy. Okay. All I'm saying
How do you
is,
forget, man? You gotta like set a reminder for yourself.
I know. It's part of it is just
You got to get Prevagen.
it was a Saturday, and I'm just kind of like, living my life. But yeah, I mean, again, he needs to be better. He knows he needs to be better. He needs to at least give the Cubs 5 innings in every start. That's a win for the Cubs if he can go 5 innings every start. 5 innings, 3 earned runs or less. That's what you're asking for a guy out of Justin Steele, and hopefully he can get back to that. Yeah, that's you get all those errors and you give up the runs. your confidence is down, then things start to unravish. Yeah. So it is what it is. We need better defense, and obviously he needs to work on his command, especially with the fastball, because that's been his biggest problem when it comes to walking people.
Yeah. The leash just isn't short. Like, he's going to have multiple opportunities to go out there, prove himself. Right. Obviously, the Cubs want to see improvement from what the last few starts have been, but he's not, in my opinion, in any danger of losing a starting spot, especially, regardless of when Wade Miley and Alec Mills and Adbert Alzolay come back off the eye. I think Justin Steele's is giving the firm chance to have an extended spot in that rotation and prove himself as a starter.
Not in trouble. No. By the way, you were talking about defense with the Sox coming to town the next 2 days. They're terrible at defense too.
They are.
It could be an interesting crosstown series as we get ready for that. Thanks for dropping in to check out the CHGO Cubs podcast. Don't forget, it is a crosstown edition coming up the next 2 games. We'll be teaming up with our CHGO White Sox teammates. So Sean and Herb are going to be here, and we'll have a whole panel. Make sure you got our back. Get on the chat. Have our back, because I'm thinking it's going to be a vocal from the South Side. They have a team they're still pretty confident in. So we hope to see you on the chat coming up on those shows, and we hope you'll be there with us. So thanks for listening. Take care, and hopefully fly the W twice in the next 2 days.
Peace out.